Hey you guys, welcome back to Perfume Vegas, and I'm Holly Golightly, and today I am going to be doing a fragrance review for you. I am going to be reviewing for you Guerlain Shalimar Parfum Initial and Shalimar Parfum Initial Low. So if you're interested in hearing the breakdown of these two fragrances, as well as some of my thoughts and opinions on if they're worth the money, if you should go for different flankers, etc., just keep watching. All right. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for those of you who have subscribed and are still watching, commenting, and giving me thumbs up, even though the quality of these videos is not as good as usual or as expected. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I really love being able to chat with you in the comments. So let me know down below anything, your thoughts, opinions, whatever comes to mind. As for the review, it's been a while since I've done a dedicated fragrance review. My last one was for Cartier Le Beige Dragon, and I actually sold that perfume, but if you want to see the review, I'll have it linked in the cards up above. Let's get right into it. Guerlain Shalimar Parfum Initial was a flanker of the original Shalimar, although it wasn't the first flanker, to my understanding. It was the first of the flankers that significantly deviated from the original Shalimar DNA. Now, there has been quite a few years since I have smelled the original Shalimar Parfum or even Shalimar Eau de Cologne, I've never smelled Shalimar Eau de Cologne. But I meant Shalimar Eau de Toilette. And although I vaguely remember not liking it at the time, I really can't say what my feelings about it would be today because it's been so long since I've smelled it. The original Shalimar Parfum Initial flanker was released in 2011, and the flanker of a flanker, Shalimar Parfum Initial Low, was released in 2012. Both of these scents have now been discontinued. However, Guerlain has re-released Shalimar Parfum Initial in their Les Parisiennes line of exclusive fragrances as L'Initial. So I haven't smelled that. I haven't gotten a chance to smell it. I can't speak on that fragrance and how much it is similar or dissimilar to Parfum Initial. But for people who are hardcore like fans of this fragrance, I don't think it's a bad thing to be able to add this version to your collection, but I do know that doing it this way earned Guerlain a lot of criticism about discontinuing a fragrance only to re-release it in a more expensive version years later. However, the comparison, contrast, and the controversy surrounding that release is not what we're here for today. So let me talk to you a little bit first about Shalimar Parfum Initial, and then I will do the same for Low, and then I will give you my own thoughts and opinions about the fragrance. Shalimar Parfum Initial was released in 2011. It was created by Thierry Wasser, and is that how you say his name? Wasser? I'm not sure. Don't come for me. It was fairly... At the time of its release, it was like mildly well received. It was neither hot or cold. It was kind of lukewarm feelings towards the fragrance. I've seen a lot of comments saying that when Shalimar Parfum Initial was released, people were upset that it was released as a flanker, because although there is similarities to Shalimar and the DNA is present, there's quite a few differences as well. But it gained a sort of cult status after its discontinuation. I believe that it was discontinued around 2015 or 2016, somewhere in that time frame. I know that Shalimar Parfum Initial Low was discontinued in 2015, and then the original Parfum Initial shortly after. The notes for Shalimar Parfum Initial are bergamot, orange, and green notes at the top, heart notes of fruit, rose, jasmine, and iris. And at the base, there is patchouli, vetiver, vanilla, tonka bean, and white musk. This is a fairly popular fragrance with Shalimar fans now, and it is usually ranked pretty highly among the Shalimar flankers. I would venture to say this is probably the most popular flanker of Shalimar, but unfortunately, due to its discontinued status, it falls a little bit behind Souffle, Shalimar Souffle, in ownership or consumption of the fragrance. So this particular fragrance shares a similar DNA with Shalimar in the base, as well as some of the heart notes with iris and rose, but its top notes are much more fresh. They're not as heavy as oriental as the original Shalimar, and it's quite a bit sweeter in the sense that the fruity notes are more like juicy, whereas the original Shalimar is more dry. And I talk a lot about fragrances being sweet versus dry, and it's simply a comparison for me to make how the fragrance smells on the skin. A sweet fragrance is going to be sweet, but it's also going to feel richer and a little bit thicker. A dry fragrance can still be sweet, but it's going to feel airier and lighter on the skin. So let's do a handy dandy sniff test. I already have a different fragrance on, so I cannot spray this. I might be able to spray this on me. I'll put it on the paper first and we'll see. So Shalimar Parfum Initial, at the very initial Shalimar Parfum Initial, upon initial application, immediately comes through as very sweet. There is a little bit of musk that is present throughout the lifespan of the fragrance, but the top notes are quite citrusy and sweet, and it does take a while for those top notes to evaporate. So if you are not a fan of like citrus green, sweet florals, this may not be the fragrance for you, especially if you're not a fan of an oriental fragrance as well. But as those scents begin to dry down, I really do start to see the iris and rose coming through. I don't get jasmine very heavily with this fragrance. It's on the second half of the dry down, the mid notes to the base, where the Guerlain Shalimar DNA really starts to come through. But it's very pretty, and in my mind, from what I remember of Shalimar, Parfum Initial still takes on a more sweet, a more fun, a more just easy to wear quality. Shalimar I think of as being a very serious type of fragrance, something that you would wear only under very specific occasions, like a black tie event or a quite elevated sort of occasion. Parfum Initial is definitely more suitable for day-to-day wear, and although I don't think that it's probably the best fragrance for spring, summer, and daytime events. You could easily wear it as a signature scent for nighttime, going out to dinner, dates. I don't think I would say clubbing because it's not strong enough for that, but for like a party or get-togethers and evenings. It's a very pleasant scent. It's much more crowd-pleasing than than Shalimar. But is it worth the hype that it gets now that it's been discontinued? I don't think so. I do think a lot of that hype happens with discontinued fragrances based only on the fact that they are no longer available for purchase. And so people build up the idea of what they are in their mind, and it drags price, like it lifts prices up. It causes people to panic if they can't find a backup bottle, etc., when in fact there's other perfectly good fragrances that, although probably are not identical to this scent, definitely offer a similar feeling. That was Parfum Initial. And now let's talk about Shalimar Parfum Initial Low. Parfum Initial Low was created in 2012, like I said before. It was also done by Thierry Wasser. Again, sorry if I mispronounced the name. And this particular scent has been discontinued very quickly. Like I said, I do think it was discontinued in 2015, and being only on the market for approximately 3 years, there's a lot less buzz and hype around Low. However, I don't think that it should be discounted just because it wasn't on the market for very long. So the top notes of Shalimar Parfum Initial Low are orange, bergamot, grapefruit, and neroli, fairly similar to Parfum Initial. The heart notes are Damascena rose, jasmine, and iris, again, quite similar. And the base notes are vanilla and tonka bean. So with Shalimar Parfum Initial Low, you maintain the freshness of the opening, but it's also given quite I want to say woody, but it's not quite a woody. With the addition of neroli in the top notes, you get a very, let me spray it, and that'll probably help. This one has a worse sprayer than the other one. I don't know why. So yeah, with neroli in the top notes, you get slightly like a slightly bitter, woody, floral scent, as well as those citruses. Whereas Parfum Initial is more of a juicy, sweet, fruity opening. Neroli is one of my own personal favorite fragrance notes, and I really enjoy it in this fragrance. Yeah, it doesn't have the freshness. It's a little bit more grounded in the opening, but as it dries down, with the exclusion of some of those heavier fruit notes, as well as a lot of those deep Shalimar base notes, because remember, this is not a Shalimar flanker. This is a Parfum Initial flanker. I'm not looking at you, I'm sorry. So you lose the Shalimar DNA almost entirely. It's still there. I find it very, very, very vague. I don't really notice it at all. It's still there, but it's not as cloying. And Shalimar is a cloying kind of fragrance, in my opinion. Shalimar Parfum Initial also retains that cloying element, but Parfum Initial Low is a much fresher, airier, lighter type of sweetness. It is more on the dry side than Parfum Initial, and although it is a vanilla and tonka base, it's of course the Guerlain vanilla, and it's done well. It's done very well in this fragrance. It's blended very nicely. You don't get any heavy vanilla fragrance, and then the tonka just adds a sort of spicy sweetness to the base that plays really nicely with the neroli top notes, so that everything kind of forms just kind of a cloud of soft oriental florally scent. I hope that makes sense. So on to my personal thoughts and opinions. First of all, you can fairly easily find Shalimar Parfum Initial Low on discount websites and on eBay, and it doesn't sell for too expensive. I think I picked mine up from Fragrance Net for $60, and then Parfum Initial, being the hyped up fragrance, is usually harder to find, and when you do find it, it is a little bit more pricey. With that said, if you do decide to pick up Shalimar Parfum Initial Low and you find that the bottle says Shalimar Parfum Initial without the low printed on it, make sure you check the base, because on the base, you can see here, you can't read it, but it does say low. And I did find out through a forum, I believe on Base Notes, that because Parfum Initial Low was discontinued first, at the end of the production, they ran out of the flacons for Parfum Initial Low, and so they put them in the Parfum Initial flacon. If your Parfum Initial has the pink tassel and says low at the bottom, it is in fact Parfum Initial Low and not Parfum Initial, as confusing as that may be. So, my recommendations for anyone interested in acquiring one or both of these fragrances is A, you don't need both. They are similar enough in composition that you do not need both of them. And B, if you decide you want to purchase one, definitely get, if you can, a decant of one or both, and decide which one is more your style. Parfum Initial, again, is sweeter, a little bit heavier, a little bit richer, more similar to the original Shalimar than its own flanker, which is Parfum Initial Low. Parfum Initial Low is drier, less sweet, more light on the skin, more airy, and also it unfortunately has a little bit less longevity. However, that being said, both fragrances have beautiful sillage. You will definitely be smelled coming and going. Shalimar Low, the Parfum Initial Low, has about a lasting power of 4 to 6 hours on my skin. My skin composition eats fragrance, though. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at you. My skin composition eats fragrance, so that's not necessarily a great barometer of how long it will last on you. Parfum Initial lasts about 6 to 8 hours on my skin, and by the 8th hour, it is definitely a skin scent. Trying to think if there's any other things I want to mention. As you can see, of the two of them, I have worn them just about equally. The Shalimar Parfum Initial Low came filled a bit more than the Shalimar Parfum Initial came a bit the Shalimar Parfum Initial came filled a bit more than Parfum Initial Low. So I do think I have actually used a bit more of this because now their fill levels are quite equal. So to recap, both of these fragrances are beautiful. They are definitely floral vanilla oriental fragrances. Shalimar Parfum Initial retains more of the original Shalimar DNA. So if you prefer that style of fragrance, this is probably the one you'll want to look for. Shalimar Parfum Initial Low is fresher and more, it's like a generation stepped away from Shalimar, the original. And so if you want something that is a light oriental, fairly soft floral, vanilla oriental, Shalimar Parfum Initial Low is the way to go. I have said in other videos that Parfum Initial Low is my favorite, is my preference. I've also considered selling Parfum Initial, but due to the fact that it has a fairly... Sorry about that, you guys. I'm not sure where I was at when I got cut off. So I did spray the fragrances on my hands, and I just want to give you a final thought. Parfum Initial is beautiful. It's a rich kind of floriental, but much sweeter than a lot of oriental type of fragrances. And Parfum Initial Low is less oriental. It's more dry. It's kind of a floral, woody type of fragrance with just a hint of sweetness. So if either of those two sounds good to you, you could check out the notes or even just comment down below and tell me some fragrances that you currently like, and I could offer you my opinion on whether or not Parfum Initial or Parfum Initial Low is going to be better for you if you are interested in picking up a bottle. Otherwise, this review has reached its end. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found it helpful. I know these fragrances aren't new on the market, but there is always people who are looking to buy. And I think that a lot of people overlook Parfum Initial Low because it didn't get the hype that Parfum Initial did. So yeah, that is my review for Guerlain Shalimar Parfum Initial and Guerlain Shalimar Parfum Initial Low. Leave me your thoughts in the comments below. Please, if you feel so inclined, subscribe to my channel. I want to thank you again for being here and for putting up with all of the technological drama I'm having. Hopefully it will be resolved very soon, and until then, I will have to do my best to put videos out for you as high quality as possible. So thank you again, and I hope that you have a really, really great day today. Okay? Bye.